Hey everybody, how's it going? I wanted to talk to you today about being happy and the importance of, staying positive and being happy. And I think a lot of times people in today's world of the 24-hour news cycle and the instant news that we get so wrapped up in negative stories and negative things in the world that we tend to think that's the way life is. And we also tend to not really appreciate what we have. And, you know, bringing it back to myself, it's like, I was 19, 20 years old when I got in a car accident and lost my arm. And I realized at an early age, because of that, that you really don't know what's going to happen to you in your life. And you don't know, same thing with your friends and family. You just don't know. So the thing is you need to take advantage of life and live it to its fullest and be happy. And I always, a lot of times I hear people tell me, they talk about society and life and things that are going on. And they always say, well, how can I be happy with all the crazy stuff that's going on in the world? And I turn to them and I say, what are you talking about? Do you realize that the world is so much better than it used to be? And then they always say, no, it isn't. Look what's going on in the news. And I'm like, well, part of it is that, going back to the 24-hour news cycle, you hear things that, even 10, 15 years ago, you didn't hear because it's just constant. And you have everybody with phones putting everything on right away and all this stuff. But it goes beyond that. I mean, if you look at 100 years ago today, we were just ending World War II or World War I. And in World War I, we had mustard gas. We had battles where tens of thousands of people died. 20 years later, we basically have the beginning of World War II where, just thousands and thousands of people died. Millions of people died, actually. And we had this go back further. There has always been terrible things. And it's not as bad as people think. Now, I'm not saying that, the conflicts we're having with terrorism and things that are going on in the world aren't bad, but what I'm saying is they're always bad. It's not as bad as it used to be because the fact that the majority of people in this world actually have common sense. Now, I know when it comes to some political stuff, we can disagree on that, but for the most part, people tend to understand what's good and what's wrong and what's right and so forth when it comes to, the really important stuff. But it goes back even further than that. Look at health. Look at, I can think of myself how many times I've had to go to the doctor for an ear infection or a tooth infection, or how many people that have had their appendix removed. All those things 100 years ago, you would have died. So it's like this, 100 years ago, the life expectancy of a newborn was like, 50%. I mean, it'd be beyond 2 years. So it's like, what I'm saying is, the world's always going to throw you a bunch of crap. Always. It did a long time ago. It did 100 years ago. It did yesterday. It's going to do it tomorrow. But, don't beat yourself up and don't beat the world up because it is a lot better than it is. I mean, look at the simple things you have in life that you take, or the things you have in life that you take for advantage. Look at this phone that I'm recording this on. I mean, just a few years ago, we couldn't do this stuff. And you think, you always hear people say, well, phones have ruined. Well, yeah, sure, there's some aspects. My kids are on the phone 24 hours a day. You can't even have a conversation with people because they're on the phone and they're always in the computer. But look at the great things that come from the computer. Look at what we're doing now. Look at Twitter and YouTube and all the things and all the sharing of knowledge and experiences that's happening because of technology that wasn't there before. Look at, going back to health. I've had, as a lot of people know who know me and follow me, I've had, quite a few surgeries. Well, my life would have been dramatically different if I lived 100 years ago. So it's like, you have to understand that, there are great things that you can accomplish, and part of the thing is to accomplish things, you have to stay positive. And you can't stay positive if you're looking around the world and constantly just seeing all the negative stuff and concentrating on negative energy and negative thinking. You can't do that. Now, I know, someone who, as a lot of you who may follow me know, that I'm, really into politics and stuff like that, and current affairs. So, there's a lot of that stuff out there that can bring you way down, when you start really getting into it and stuff. But you have to think about it functionally, just like anything else in your life. You have to think about it functionally. You can't absorb information and then just let, your ego and just random thoughts control what happens to that information. It has to be processed through being functional. And that's how you deal with stuff. So when you hear about a mass shooting, you don't think, oh my God, what's this world coming to? And you look at it from a functional standpoint. You understand the reasons why it's happening. In other words, you use your brain for what it's there for, to think and reason. And if you apply that to everything and try to be positive in your life. And the reason why I brought up that shooting is because it's an example of something very an evil, terrible thing that affects society. And we got victims, we got people that are, lost their lives, and their families, people hurt. It's a terrible thing. But you can't concentrate on negative things. Just like I didn't concentrate on losing my arm. I did in the beginning, just like everyone, is a normal thing. Our guys and women coming back from war right now, you think the first thing when they wake up and they see their limbs missing, they're like, oh, okay, it's cool, I'm going to go, yeah, it's fine. No, there's going to be an adjustment time. There's going to be, but the faster and the better you think functionally is, the better you're going to recuperate from that. That's what was my story. It took me a while, but when I look back and when I talk to people and give people advice, it's based on my life experience and things that I have done. And I've realized that when I was able to functionally look at things in my world that were happening to me in a negative way and filter them through being functional, I was able to decipher them and not let them control me. It's like relationships. You're in and out of relationships. You have a bad relationship. It's like you can look at it from a dysfunctional standpoint, which is, oh, all women or all men are evil and this and that. And that's just this negative energy that's drawn on you. And that's not functional. Or you can look at it from a functional standpoint and say, well, I made some bad choices in my life. I was in this relationship. I saw the signs. All these things. And then you make your decision on what's happening in your life and your next relationship based on being functional. So, that's really how you stay happy. Going back to myself again, I always tell my friends and family how important it is for me to be healthy and happy. Those two go together, because no one's really happy if you're not healthy. But what I'm talking about is, you have to understand that in order to be successful, okay, in any venture in your life, you have to have positive energy. Now, I don't care what religion you follow, Christianity, Buddha, Jew, it doesn't matter. Everything that you do that is relative to you and your family and to being successful, you have to be in a good state of mind to get it done. Everyone knows that. As a martial artist, I've had so many confrontations with people talking to me about training, about self-defense. And I can't tell you how many times in my lifetime I've run into someone who says things like, well, I don't need to train, I'll just get mad. And I'm thinking, well, that's really good, because, when my car breaks down, I don't need to get the right wrench and the right tools and have the knowledge to fix it. I just need to get mad, and then I'll fix it, and I'll fix it. So when, your game plan is someone's going to attack me and I'm going to get mad. It makes no sense whatsoever. I can even talk, reminds me actually of a story that was handed down to me by both Dan Inosanto and Paul Vunak about Bruce Lee. And coming from Dan Inosanto was firsthand. Him and Bruce Lee were driving down the street, and Bruce Lee was a notorious bad driver. I don't know, we can leave the jokes aside, but he was a bad driver, and he often got into road rage situations with people. And the story goes, he was driving down the street in his Sunbeam, and he cut off a truck driver or something, or a truck driver cut him off, and there was yelling and screaming going on, flipping each other off. And the truck driver pulled over, Bruce Lee pulled over, and Dan Inosanto says Bruce Lee was just foaming. He was just like so angry, and a song came on the radio, and Bruce Lee turned to Dan Inosanto and said, turn it up. He opened the door, and he said the second his foot hit the ground, he went from this raging to like, did his little thing and walked over to the guy. The guy threw a punch. Bruce Lee intercepted it, popped the guy, did a boom, 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 boom. The guy left, guy got back in his car, all hurt and banged up. Bruce Lee got in his car. He starts to, go back and drive again, and Dan Inosanto says, what happened? And Bruce Lee turns to him and says, never fight when you're angry. And, now I can sit here and tell you, everyone who knows me knows that I've been in lots of situations when I fought when I was angry. And I can tell you this from my firsthand experience, that when I'm not angry is when I'm a better fighter. When I'm angry, and you're just not thinking right. I mean, think about this. What do you want to do when you're angry? Now, the moral of that story is, even the person who's like the baddest man on this planet, he understood that being angry when you're fighting is not functional, because that's when you can lose. I know that because when you're angry, your reactions ain't as fast. Your ability to think straight ain't as fast. You're not clear about things. I just go down the list and list. I would never tell one of my students, you need to defend yourself. Get really mad and then go out and do it. You think we drop off our especially Navy SEALs? We're just like, okay, we're slapping them in the face. Get really pissed off, dude, and then go do this. No. They rely on their training and a clear mind. And, so the moral is you've got to be positive. Even fighting you can't do when you're angry. If you want to accomplish things and go and look at more morality-wise. How many fights start because you're angry and you didn't step back and look at it from a functional standpoint and say, is it right for me? Why am I fighting? I do that more now than I used to do. That's why I used to get in a lot of fights when I was younger, because I was young and stupid, knew how to fight. Now I step back, and I have more confidence in my ability and all kinds of things, but it comes right down to I have more common sense based on being functional. So, it's really important for you to, when negative things enter your life, whether it be something happening to you physically, whether it be issues and problems in your relationships, or things that you're doing in your world, whether it be work or personal, you have to understand that if you live your life and let negative things direct how you think and how you do things, then you're going to be negative, and you're not going to be able to accomplish things like you would if you were positive. That's just common sense. So the best thing for you to do is to be as functional as possible. And to be functional, you have to understand that there's going to be negative things in the world. You can't expect every single day to be sunshine. We know that sometimes it rains. We know sometimes there's storms. We know sometimes you wake up and your stomach hurts, or you got a cold. I mean, I can just go down the list. Life doesn't always, it's not always a bowl of cherries or, ice cream. It's always, you have to deal with things. As a fighter, I can tell you that. You think the best fighter in the world gets popped in the mouth. You watch MMA fighters. You watch Jones, who I think is the best fighter in the world. You watch this guy. You think he never gets punched. He goes in the fight. And he's like, yeah, I just win all the fights. No one ever punches me. It's not like that. You have to be able to take negative things. You have to be able to take bad things and turn them around. So, you have to concentrate on being positive. And I don't mean being a happy ass. And that's where I think a lot of people, it doesn't mean be a happy ass, walk around, someone smacks you or the world's shitting on you, you're just like, this is great. No, you have to, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to understand that the negative things in life are part of life. I mean, you have to understand that in any aspect of what you're dealing with, the better you are at being functional, the better you're going to deal with those things, whether it be a positive thing, a negative thing, or something that's out of your control. It doesn't matter. Be functional, and that's how you deal with everything. All right? So, again, it's hard for everybody. Has things they have to go through. I can sit here and tell you a list of things I have to do every single day when it comes to my physical, ailments and all kinds of things. And just like everybody else, I have all kinds of things to do with my family, with my business, and all kinds of things, And I know for a fact that when I'm in a good mood, and I don't mean what I mean by that is when I'm being positive about what I'm doing, is when I'm the most successful. By far. Going back to fighting. I can't, I've been in well over 100 street fights in my life for multiple reasons, and I don't have time to get into it. But the whole point is, I can tell you the times where I was just, fought for, mad and angry, and it's not that I couldn't take care of the situation, but there's a huge difference between when I was calm and things tended to go a lot more my way when I was calm. And it's like that in everything. I mean, think about how many times you lose your temper, and you're doing something. What do you accomplish by doing that? What, seriously, would you want to go to the doctor and you're like, yeah, I got to get surgery today. I want my doctor to get really pissed off before he does that surgery. I mean, what is it, and this comes from somebody with a really bad temper, so I'm not pointing my finger, I'm telling you from my own experience that being angry at yourself, at the world, doesn't accomplish anything. You have to appreciate everything. You got family, you've got friends, you got this beautiful country that we live in. This beautiful world. There's so much to take from this world and absorb and love and appreciate. Somebody pisses you off, guess what? There's somebody right next to you, right behind you, right in front of you that's not going to piss you off. You have to appreciate everything that's good. Just like Bruce Lee talked about, using what's useful and discarding what's not. That's the same thing with negative energy. Negative energy is useless. Get rid of it. Get rid of it. So just live your life, be happy, be functional, adapt, and take charge of who you are, where you want to be, and what's happening in your world. Peace.